You just said the power is in the thoughts. I would potentially expand on that, because I think the power is in the thoughts, the decisions, which are thoughts too in one way, but then also the actions somebody takes. And the actions somebody takes are out of your control.
Absolutely.
And the thing you can do is help them think clearly, choose clearly, but then the actions are up to them. And that's what you said earlier about, in one way, the coach, like even if they fail, even if they don't do, it's not your fault.
Yes. And then challenging people on where they could do a lot more than they think they have. You know, there's a line that I like to use for myself and for clients, where I say the universe responds to action, not thought. Thinking something will not change it. What would change is if you do something. So that's the first part that you must embrace. The second part is, have you really done enough? Okay. For instance, say you want help from a department at a store and you need to get information. So now you start phoning, and you phone and you get people, but they can't help you. Now you write an email and they don't reply. And now you come back and you say, you know, I don't know, I'm not going to do this. And I say, why not? You said, well, I phoned 6 times. I spoke to 3 people, they can't help me. I wrote 4 emails. So it's not working. We must find someone else. Here's my response. Did you really think you did enough? And so I will say, yeah, okay. So what about driving there, going in, refusing to move, and say you want to speak to someone and don't move from the counter until you get your problem resolved? Don't move. Stay there. What about doing that? And then people will go, whoa, that's a bit radical. Say, oh, so you don't want to do radical stuff to change your future or your outcome. You don't want to do that, you see? So often people are conditioned by society or a website that said, if you have a problem, email us. And now they think that's all I should do. All right. Or I think about an example of a client of mine who wanted to do studies, and she was not, she was older, but did not have all the qualifications. So she tried to get into training institutes and she was rejected, I think 5 or 6 times by different institutions. And I asked her this. I said, oh, so she said, I don't think I must continue with the studies or training because I tried 6 places. They reject me. They say I don't. And I did this. I told her, so why are you stopping now? She said, well, with each one of it, there's an application form and you fill it in, you send it in, and then they say yes or no. And everybody said no. And then I asked her, what more can you do? She said, nothing. I said, not true. What more can you do? Where does that application form go? All right. Can you speak to someone either over the phone or in person that handles that and tell them your story? And she was thinking, she said, yeah, but that's not the process. I say, exactly, that's why you fail, because you follow the process. I don't think your dream is big enough. And then she got upset with me. She said, this is my dream for my life. I said, I don't think so, because you're not willing to fight for it. Long story short, she ended up getting someone on the phone, getting an appointment, went to someone who's higher up, explaining, and they were so impressed by her passion that they accepted her, and she's studying now. She could have stopped with the process that they told her is the natural process. But if you guide them to say, the universe will respond to action, and more action that you think. And what you said, that's my point with the story, is what are you willing to do? And me, as a coach, I'm going to inspire you from behind. I'm going to tell you, don't turn around. You haven't done enough. Keep on going. If a client then get to a point where they tell me, back off, I don't want to do more, then I say, all right, good, I'll back off. Because it's not about me, it's about you. but then accept what's going to happen.
It's about agreements, and it's
Yeah.
about constantly renegotiating the agreements. When you speak about the universe response to action, it's one of my favorite book titles of all time. Is the book title "God Works with You, Not for You," which
Yeah.
I find hits the nail on the head. Like whether you believe in God or not, but just that picture for me is the essence of what you're talking about there.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I would like to maybe expand what we're talking about a tiny bit, because this is the thing I think I've been thinking about the most, which is because you spoke about so these three steps I named for me are what I would consider the results oriented or the outer coaching. But then let's stick with your example of have you done enough? What if you just call them? And if somebody says something like, I would like to, but I'm scared. How do you deal with that? Like, what would your response to that be? And where do you see the job of a coach in that?
Okay. So I think part of coaching definitely goes towards awareness of self, which means a deeper awareness of patterns of thought, emotion, and behavior. And if someone comes up with words like scared, they play towards the emotional side. And although coaching is not therapy where you engage in the past, what it is awareness. So what I would do is to help the person unpack the reality of that fear. What are you afraid of? So tell me, explain to me your fear. Explain what you feel. How does it make you feel? Do you get, your heart pumping? Do you sweat, or what happens? And then, so confront it, but then also tell me what can happen here. What's the worst that can happen? All right. And that for me in terms of being afraid is often something that helps a lot with clients. If you can help them explain the absolute worst that can happen. And I usually push them further than that. They thinking about the worst. So they could say, well, say for instance, someone can throw down a phone in my ear. And I say, no, I don't think that's the worst. I think it's much worse things that can happen. And they say, well, like what? I say, let's think. How about they find you and start terrorizing you and even want to sue you? And they go like, that's ridiculous. And I say, oh, if it's ridiculous, the worst is ridiculous. Let's face then the worst. That won't happen. So putting down a phone in your ear, what's the consequence of that? Apart from that you may feel rejected. Then they realize that this fear they have, this whole picture of something appearing real, but it's not real, it's what they should face and then confront. Okay. And helping them then to practice it step by step. And that's the important thing in coaching as well. If you can let someone, an agreement with someone to go and just do one thing that they feel will be a breakthrough, one thing that they could engage in that they would not have done before this session. And then you talk them through that again. That's progress. Remember at the start, I told you it's about personal development. That's what you want to do, personal development, but you want to do it in terms of their awareness. And in terms of there may be instances, and I've had it, where someone needs more, for instance, where someone really have an issue that needs counseling or therapy. Now, I'm not qualified to do that, so I refer them. I would tell them, listen, I can give you names of people I know and trust, and I think you must work through this issue before you get back to me. That's a different conversation. That should also be an option for a coach. Mm-hmm. Get out of the way so someone else professional can get in. But for you as a coach, if you keep on challenging things like fear, like a hesitance that they have, like vulnerability, and why are they afraid for being vulnerable? And often this comes back to belief systems, what they've been trained or raised to believe to be true, and what society or whatever told them is acceptable and not acceptable. So the liberation they get from understanding, whoa, I've got a lot more movement and ways to go here than I thought, and I'm actually much freer than I think. That's the breakthrough where they go. And even if they don't achieve their goal, often what they do achieve is growth. And that's precious, because that takes them forward.